At 2:47, a Russian coastal radar picked up something it couldn't explain. Tiny signals, moving fast, skimming the sea. Operators thought it was a glitch, a seagull, maybe interference. But minutes later, the glitch was attacking. 5 missiles ripped through the night. Millions of rubles gone in seconds, fired at what they believed was a drone swarm. The explosions lit the water, and then silence. The smoke cleared, and the drones were still flying, unaffected, unstoppable. That was the moment Russia realized something had changed forever. On the mountain above Crimea, a Panzer S-1 tracked the intruders. Its radar swiveled wildly. Missiles launched, cannons roared, tracers stitched the sky in arcs of light. Nothing hit. The operator didn't know it yet, but he was aiming at ghosts. The reason? Physics. These Ukrainian FPV drones were flying sideways across the radar beam, not toward it. That creates something called a Doppler notch, where a moving object appears motionless on radar. To the system, it looked like part of the ground, so it filtered it out. Even worse, the sea reflected radar waves upward, creating ghost images. The missiles locked between the real drone and its reflection, chasing nothing. Each missile needed a radar return the size of a car door to trigger. These drones reflected 1/100th of that, so the missiles literally couldn't see them. On the operator's screen, the mountain's shape appeared, Mount Ari. Those domes at the top, they weren't decoration. Each held radar systems worth hundreds of millions. They guided missiles, tracked bombers, scanned for stealth jets, and now they were defenseless. Another volley of tracers cut through the dark. Beautiful arcs of orange light, but the rounds missed by hundreds of meters. The system wasn't broken, it was blind. The drone's camera feed zoomed on its target, a massive radar array called 96L6E, NATO code. Cheeseboard. It provided the targeting data for Russia's feared S-400 air defense systems. Without it, those missiles couldn't even find a target. Then, impact. A shaped charge exploded against the radar face. A jet of molten copper, moving 8 kilometers per second, sliced through delicate circuits. $1 million electronics turned to ash in a blink. Above, an Su-30 fighter screamed through the clouds. Russia's pride, advanced radar, thrust vectoring engines, precision missiles. It locked onto the target for a moment. Contacts blinked on its radar, then vanished, appearing and disappearing like fireflies. The radar needed 5 sweeps to confirm a track. The drones gave it 2, then dropped below the noise floor, becoming invisible. The pilot fired anyway, 4 missiles in under a minute, 20 million rubles each. Each one missed. Why? The infrared seeker on the missile looked for heat, jet exhaust at 1,000 degrees Celsius. The drone's motors ran at 50 degrees, no heat, no lock. The pilots switched to guns, the GSH-30 spraying 30mm shells at 1,500 rounds per minute. Still nothing. The drones jinked slightly every 2 seconds, just 2 or 3 meters, enough to throw off the computer's aim. By the time the rounds arrived, the drones had moved. Every shot missed. 4 missiles, hundreds of cannon rounds, 0 hits. At 2:55, something stranger appeared. New radar contacts, but not from Ukraine. They were appearing offshore, 10 kilometers out, from the sea itself. Small, quiet boats, disguised as fishing vessels, were launching more drones. These were relay boats, the secret to the entire operation. Ukraine wasn't flying drones directly from Odessa. That would be impossible. The Earth's curve would block the signal after just a few miles. Instead, operators sat safely inland, using encrypted links and Starlink connections to these floating platforms. The boats then transmitted commands locally to the drones, like floating Wi-Fi routers of war. The video feed bounced back the same way, almost in real time. 3 or 4 boats were enough to command a swarm hundreds of kilometers deep inside Russian territory, while the pilots sat in cafes, watching screens. The genius wasn't technology, it was geometry. You see, radars like the Podliot K1 can track aircraft 300 kilometers away, even missiles in space. But at a steep mountain elevation, they can't point too far down. The radar beam has a minimum depression angle. That creates a blind wedge close to the shore, a zone where radar coverage simply doesn't exist. Those relay boats floated inside that blind zone, 5 meters above the waves, invisible to every radar in Crimea. They didn't need stealth. Physics gave it to them. And the coastal radars, they ignored them too. Anything moving under 20 knots was filtered out as civilian traffic, fishing boats, cargo barges, not a threat. So the system deleted them automatically. Those boats cruised at 15 knots. To Russian computers, they didn't exist. At dawn, the boats launched again. A second swarm of drones filled the sky, moving like a cloud of metallic insects, not in neat military formation, but in chaos. That chaos was their advantage. Each drone scattered, then converged on Mount Ari from random angles. One aimed at the radar domes, another at communications hubs, another at the underground command bunker. Each drone carried a small but focused-shaped charge, the kind that turns steel into plasma. They didn't need huge bombs, just precision. When the first charge hit, the domes cracked like eggshells. Inside, high-voltage circuits arced and burned. Screens went dark. Commanders shouted into dead radios. Within minutes, the Nebo-M radar, Russia's pride, capable of detecting stealth aircraft, went offline. Then the Podliot K1, the low-altitude tracker, followed. Finally, the command bunker itself took a direct hit. Fire, smoke, and secondary explosions tore through the facility. The brain of Crimea's air defense, gone. In less than an hour, the entire defensive network, the one built to counter NATO airstrikes, collapsed to a few kilograms of lithium batteries and copper wire. The S-400 launchers still stood, but blind. Without radar, they couldn't see. Without data, they couldn't fire. Each system isolated, each node severed. It wasn't technology that failed Russia. It was assumption that the next war would look like the last one. But the battlefield has changed. Now, the most dangerous weapon in the world isn't a billion-dollar jet. It's a drone that costs less than your phone. And the soldiers flying them, they're not in cockpits, they're behind laptops. If this moment shocked you, imagine what comes next. Warfare is changing faster than anyone expected, and those who can't adapt disappear. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as unreal as it sounds, hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned because the next drone war is already in motion.